Now let's just explain the difference between a UK mortgage requirement for a standard UK resident employed to an expat, repatriating maybe, been living overseas for 10 years, or any kind of overseas investors looking to invest in the UK. What's the main differences?
Yeah, so I'll start with buy-to-let first. So with buy-to-let, actually there isn't too much difference in terms of you typically need to put a 25% deposit down for a buy-to-let property, whether you live in the UK or outside. Interest rates are higher compared to owner-occupier mortgages, so there's actually not a huge difference for expats and UK residents on the buy-to-let side. So in terms of what kind of terms you can get, it's not so different, but the actual application process can be more in-depth, more complex, more documents required, maybe more questions asked by the lender, just depending on which country you live in, especially if you live in a country considered high risk, which is where a specialist expat broker can really step in and help take that stress away from you, because we deal with this day in, day out, and we know what questions the bank are going to come back with, and we can help you make that process as smooth as possible. For owner occupiers, it is quite different, and this is where maybe expats can get caught out if they're going it alone or trying to do the process themselves. So for a UK resident, it's quite well known you can get a mortgage even with a 5% deposit, even with no deposit as of this year, but that is pretty uncommon for an expat. So you're typically going to need to put down a much higher deposit if you're wanting to buy a property that you're eventually going to live in, or you're moving back imminently. So for a lot of the lenders that will lend to expats, you're going to need at least a 20% deposit. So you're looking at 80% loan to value. There are lenders available that will go higher, so 90%, so a 10% deposit, but there's just fewer of those types of deals in the market. So it might be that not all expats qualify for that type of deal. So it's just important to know much further in advance that the down payment you're going to have to put down when you think about deposit, fees, stamp duty, is going to be much more compared to if you lived in the UK. And then also the biggest key factor is probably currency. So if you're paid in a foreign currency, there's typically some deduction for that to allow for currency fluctuations, which can affect your affordability. So it's kind of a catch-22. Most expats are probably earning much more than they would in the UK, which increases affordability, meaning you can probably buy a bigger home or secure that dream home before you return to the UK. But there might be some factors on the other side, such as currency, which can maybe act in the opposite direction. So it's really important to speak to an expat specialist broker rather than just assuming, okay, I'm earning this amount of money, I can borrow 5 times my income, which is common in the UK. It's quite different on the affordability assessment.
Interesting. And essentially, most expats do look at when they move overseas. There's an element of a plan in their head, especially somebody with a family moves overseas and they think this might be a fast way to pay off a mortgage or a house that I own, or buy the dream home, or build a portfolio of houses. So there's always a plan for them.